Okay, we're live. Yeah.
Whoa, welcome. Welcome to the podcast where tonight's presentation will be about airplanes and airplane disappearances.
Mainly disappearances.
Yeah, because actually talking about airplanes is kind of nerdy.
Yeah.
I'm Yuri, this is Archie,
Yep.
and today the main focal point will actually be the first girl boss in history and the first ever woman to operate a plane.
The first ever
Because
woman to
as you
operate a
know-
wolf cut as well.
Exactly. Because as you know, women were only allowed to operate planes past 1910 because before it was actually mathematically impossible.
Well, they were going to do it in 1905, actually, but they just said no, fuck women. So it took another 5 years.
Well, yeah, and also it's just kind of like the mathematics hadn't caught up because all the planes were
Mm.
actually designed specifically to have like a space for grapefruits,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
usually people would just use that for their nuts.
Yeah.
But
That's why it's called
you
the
know,
cockpit.
because exactly. but,
Yeah.
but yes, again, that's another reason. It just wasn't designed for women.
Yeah.
And so when they finally designed female-oriented cockpits,
Vagina pits, yeah.
yeah, as they
Pussy
call them.
pits, yeah. Can I say that? Can I say it on the podcast?
You
Do we have to start
fucking
again?
guess.
Hey, just keep going.
Cut.
No, keep going. We'll keep that in.
All right. This is.
Or I'll edit it
Anyway.
out later.
Yeah, in post. But yeah, so Amelia Earhart,
Mm.
you know, first girl boss in history. First arguable like woman in history, because as you know, women themselves were only invented in 1870. You know, it kind of creation of Germany, creation of women kind of happened at the same time.
Yeah, Prussian Union. That's why it's called the Brothers' War as well. There were no women.
Yeah, it's just no women existed before that. It's just kind of like you'd spunk in a cauldron and just baby, you know.
You know, Earhart is spelled with an ear, like it's Earhart.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
why does everyone
pretty...
say Earhart? I swear they only say Earhart because she flew in a plane. It would just be Earhart otherwise. If she was like an
Damn, I
auditory
mean-
doctor.
Yeah, if she was looking in ears and shit, it would be Earhart.
Yeah,
you know.
I swear to God it would be.
Yeah, dude.
Anyway,
But yeah,
speaking
so,
of, she gone.
But yeah, she did go.
Where did she go?
so-
What was her flight?
Well, it's very interesting because
The flight
obviously
she
the
disappeared
prevailing
on as well. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
the flight that she actually disappeared on. So what Amelia Earhart was famous for was flying really long distances, and with flying really long distances, you kind of get tired, and
You get a bit
so
sleepy. Yeah.
well, yeah, you get a bit, yeah, you know, that's why there are two pilots instead of one. Because if you have like one pilot, well, if they
Yeah.
fall asleep, then no one's flying the plane. You
Mm.
know?
It's the thing that
You
they
need-
don't
you
make
need
those
two
little service stations for planes
Yeah, dude, true.
because they can't
They,
fly service stations. They're pretty
Yeah,
grounded.
man. I mean, where else are you meant to buy like bootleg Bulgarian pornography? Like, you can't do that in the sky. You have
Can't
to
do
buy
that
it
in the
beforehand.
sky. You can't. Not
Yeah,
even in
exactly.
Bulgarian airspace. Funnily enough, actually,
Dude,
before
Bulgarian
the First World
airspace.
War, they had Bulgarian hot air balloons that would sell pilots shifty Bulgarian stuff, but they had to stop them, and they just never went back up
Yeah,
afterwards.
Yeah, because you know, hot air balloon can't catch up with the plane, especially if he has like 17 tons of questionable salami meat. You know,
Yeah.
it's just impossible.
And also, they weren't allowed to call it a drive-through because it's a plane. So, like, they tried that, but it flopped really. So they had to go
Yeah, I
around
mean,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the main thing that again Amelia Earhart was just flying super long distance.
Yeah.
And so she was actually the first woman to fly across the Atlantic, which a man had done before, presumably, because she's not the first person to fly over the Atlantic.
Well, she might be. I
Uh,
just don't know or care.
It's true.
Yeah.
What matters currently is her gender, and her gender was female, because back then there was only one gender at the time because men had not figured out what genders were.
Yeah. They
So it
haven't
was
been
only
invented
women.
yet.
Yeah. As we know, genders and pronouns were only invented in 2003.
By Tumblr.
by Tumblr. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, what ended up happening was that Amelia Earhart invents this gender called women.
Invents the Atlantic, flies over it.
Invents the Atlantic as well, but doesn't fly over in time. Instead, some other person does. And so
Yeah.
she goes, okay, I need like a first non-gendered record, right? Because
Yep. Yeah.
you know, women in aviation, kind of a new thing. They need to be bold. They need to act quickly. It's
Yeah, they
about
do.
drive. It's about power. We stay hungry. We devour.
Ooh.
You know.
Shit. Yeah. Exactly, man. You got it. That's one of her quotes.
That is
Yeah,
true.
she
That's
said
one
that.
of Amelia the Rock out.
Yeah. Can you smell what Amelia is cooking?
It's engine.
It's engine fuel.
It's engine fuel.
It's
She's
engine
gonna
fuel
fucking
and the
die over
plane. The plane is cooking.
The plane is coming down. Engine 2 is on.
Speaking of coming down, that was over the Pacific, or so we've been led to
Yeah.
believe. Because
Yeah,
she just
true.
disappeared. They never found her body, or maybe they found the plane. Don't know. Probably didn't. Otherwise, we'd probably know what happened. But yeah, so she just flat out, zoop, disappeared.
Yeah. So, fun fact about Amelia Earhart. Famous Belarusian American.
Yeah.
Now,
everyone
this
knows
is
that.
important because this is theory number uno as
Number
to
one
why she
for our
disappeared.
non-Spanish speakers.
Yeah. So, what if she wasn't flying to Papua New Guinea across the world, but was actually flying to Minsk?
Yeah, as a
'Cause
good,
do you know what's in Minsk?
everyone wants to.
Yeah, dude. Look,
Yeah.
Minsk, capital of the world.
Minsk
baby.
calls to
Minsk,
you, no matter where you are.
Minsk, Alma-Ata, and Islamabad, 3 world capitals at the time.
Yeah,
Obviously,
that's
the situation has
today.
changed now.
Honestly, yeah, World Capitals
Dude,
today.
listen, Islamabad 2022. Whoever's up for it, I'm here, baby. But the more important part is maybe she detoured from Papua New Guinea to Minsk and just didn't tell anybody. Because, she realized that, getting the first, person to, circumnavigate the world in an
I was
airplane.
gonna say she'd
that's
already been
cool or
around
whatever.
pretty much the whole world. It was just that bit left.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
literally just this one small patch of land in Papua New Guinea she forgot to visit
Well, and an
at
ocean.
the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
small patch of land and the entire Pacific Ocean, but yeah, mainly the land.
Listen, I think she might have been averse to the Pacific Ocean in the next couple of theories, but anyway.
Okay, sorry.
She detours to Minsk
Mm-hmm.
and becomes Alexandra Kollontai, the first
Oh my
female
God.
minister in the Soviet Union.
That would make sense. That makes so much sense.
And yes, there may be a massive difference in ages, and the fact that Amelia Earhart disappeared in 1937 and Alexandra Kollontai had been very much in the public eye since 1918, but
Yeah, but it's the
there's
public
still
eye.
a possibility.
You can't trust the public eye.
Yeah, because
Only
do you know
private eyes.
what the public eye did? Yeah, exactly. Private eyes. You can
Mm-hmm.
only trust them. Only trust yourself.
That's the lesson from this podcast. Only trust private eyes. That's it.
The government is trying to put thoughts in your
They
head,
are.
and you shouldn't let them.
Thoughts about Amelia Earhart and Belarus.
Exactly. But anyway,
Anyway,
theory
sorry.
number 2.
Got a little bit distracted there.
Yeah, it's
happens,
we have to spread the truth. We've got a platform
It's our first
now.
episode. Give us a break, okay? Yeah, calm down.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so theory number 2.
Number 2.
The
DOS
the
for our
second.
Spanish speakers.
We're a bilingual podcast. We're bisexual too, but that's kind of irrelevant. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, theory number 2. Is that me? Am I theory number 2? Sorry.
you can
I'll
discuss
do
theory
theory-
number 2.
Theory number 2 comes back to our old friends, the Japanese. Love them to bits.
Oh,
To all our Japanese
Yeah, man.
listeners, Watashi podcast. Thank you.
thank
I've been
you for
practicing.
making Neon Genesis Evangelion,
Oh.
but not the movie. That was weird.
I haven't watched the movie, and I thank you, Japan. No, thank you, Japan, for exploding Amelia Earhart. I think that's my conspiracy. Oh, it's not mine. It's a renowned one, but the conspiracy is she was flying from Papua New Guinea, that broke-ass island above Australia. And hey, I'm not wrong, am I?
So true, dude. Their economy is in the shit, bro.
Everyone's like, Papua New Guinea, more like Papua no money. Either way, she left Papua no money with no money.
Broke bitch.
Broke ass. And instead of flying to America, she flew to there's hundreds of those Japanese islands. Even the Japanese lose count, right?
It's like herpes, bro. Japanese in the Pacific.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Everywhere. She flew to one of those and landed there, or crashed there. She ended up there. That's the important bit. And then she stayed on that island for quite a long time into the Second World War, where she sort of, I mean, she was always loyal to, Japan, as, obviously, but she stayed loyal after the war.
The greatest Japanese patriots is the fucker who kidnapped a general and wrote like gay poetry.
Yeah,
and
that guy.
And Amelia Earhart.
Earhart.
They were loyal to
her
Emperor
Japanese
Hirohito.
name, Amelia Earhart. What? I didn't make that up. That's real.
As you may know, Amelia Earhart was the first ever woman in the Japanese Navy.
The first ever American, Belarusian, Japanesian woman.
Yeah, Belarusian American woman in the Japanese Navy.
Yeah. And in the Japanese Air Force. Either way, she was on this island, and she stayed there throughout the war, survived, remained patriotic, went on to, eventually, they all found out, right? Stopped being a pilot for a bit, then started being a pilot again, because her name is Earhart. How could you not stay a pilot, right?
Yeah.
She flew infamous Malaysia Flight 360.
It's 270.
Yeah, but why do you think it got lost?
It's true. You got on the wrong flight, man.
And she 360'd that bitch into the middle of the ocean. And she was never seen again.
Yeah,
that's a widely agreed upon conspiracy. Lots of historians.
Is the Amelia
people.
Earhart?
360.
Actually, I would like to add on to this theory.
Okay, go on then. I'll let you.
With there being like a sub theory, a 2.1, if you will.
Did you say?
Amelia.
Yeah, I thought you said
Amelia
a sub
Earhart.
theory, not a sub theory, but yeah, sub theory.
No Serbian theories here.
No,
Right.
never.
We'll get to those later.
Episode. Yeah, we'll get there later. Yeah.
We'll get there later. But anyway, Amelia Earhart disappears in 1937. Do you know what else happens in 1937?
No, what else happened in 1937?
The Marco Polo Bridge incident.
The Marco Polo Bridge incident? Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. Otherwise known as potentially the start of World War II.
Also known as that funny event in Hearts of Iron 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's World War. But Amelia Earhart, as we know, Belarusian American Japanese patriot, signs up for the Japanese army, specifically the Air Force.
Yep.
And fights in China.
Yeah.
And more importantly, fights in the Pacific after Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
In fact, she's near Pearl Harbor, but doesn't go because she had a stomachache.
Yeah, don't blame her. I wouldn't fly over stomachache or go to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, man, it's freaky over there.
So many pearls in that harbor.
Yeah, you might slip.
It's so many.
You might slip. So all these pearls everywhere.
It's so shiny as well. Balance. I don't know why they built a harbor there. But...
Yeah, and there's all these waiters walking around with bottles of champagne who keep falling over and breaking.
Very funny, admittedly. Once you're there, funny to watch. It's hard to get there, though.
It's really funny. But anyway, Amelia Earhart fights in the Pacific. Earhart as
Amelia Chan. Yeah.
But anyway, Amelia Earhart is fighting in the Pacific and decides to go on like a really harsh like attack strategy in the Philippines
A
And
harsh
right on
one,
the
guys.
north
This is
arm,
a harsh attack strategy.
there's really like no Vaseline harsh strat, and
Yeah.
like just pow bricks it into a tree.
She bricks
Just-
it into a tree. It's that harsh, guys. It's that harsh of a strategy that she just bricks it into a tree. No, sorry. Yeah, go on. As you were saying, Amelia Chan bricks
she like
it.
does. You know when GTA,
See, what
you
my
know in,
partner's
like,
trying to say,
GTA
Amelia Chan full sends it into a tree. Yeah.
But yeah, Amelia just fucking bow hits a tree, and then just
well, blammo, you know?
well like
Yeah.
like Vine Thud just hits.
Then she bricks it after that. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically breaks the tree, goes through the front windshield of her plane, and ends up in a native tribe reservation.
Mm.
Now she wakes up from a coma 6 months later
Yeah.
and thinks that the war is still going on.
Yeah.
However,
the tribe tries to get her
her
out of it.
plane's her plane's out of action, and she needs and she only has her pistol.
Yep.
And so she spends the next 70 years.
Yeah, 70
fighting.
years, guys.
70 years, bro. 70 years fighting until she fixes her plane by herself because she couldn't find the manual.
Yeah. We know it was 70
the other
years
29?
at least because she didn't show up in that time. So we know it was at least 70 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No awareness of her at all.
Yeah, no, not
But anyway, she ends up finishing her plane and flies to Malaysia. And in Malaysia, she's like, okay, I gotta get to Japan.
Yeah.
I gotta get to Japan. I gotta tell these people what's up.
Yeah.
I've been fighting in the Philippines. I'm gonna get a medal and
she's
shit.
gonna go win a medal. Yeah.
Yeah, she's gotta go win a medal in the competition.
Bow down
for,
to the emperor.
longest...
And
Yeah,
do whatever they do.
whatever they do in Japan. I don't really sure.
Yeah, weeb shit. I don't know.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, probably something to do with swords. I think that's a Japanese.
Must be
thing.
right. Must be. Either way, she's going to do that from Malaysia. Yeah.
And the flight she gets on is Malaysian Airlines flight 270. No, not 360. You're 90 flights off.
Oh my bad, sorry. Yeah,
but
Malaysia 270.
so
yeah.
She starts flying, but not to its initial destination of Hong Kong, but actually Japan.
A new destination of the ocean.
But the problem is that between Hong Kong and Japan, there's kind of a couple of seas and an ocean. And so when she sets off,
just one
she actually doesn't have enough fuel. And also, she attaches all of the weaponry she's been carrying.
Yeah, and it's a lot, guys.
Which includes artillery shells and more artillery shells and a knife.
Yeah,
and that knife's quite heavy.
Yeah. But it's a big knife.
So it's really
Crocodile Dundee shit over here.
We're talking end of Ubisoft game. You get that knife for 100%, big knife.
It's got the gold skin and everything.
Yeah, dude. It's got a green hue to it. But anyway, she starts lifting up, and the plane actually is too heavy. Yeah. And so it starts kind of tilting upward. So kind of like a Concorde, except the nose doesn't. And so it's just kind of flying like that, and that wastes a lot of fuel. Because obviously, fuel is held in an open container, on the wing of the plane, and that's why it has to be level. But because it's kind of tipped over a bit, all the fuel keeps leaking out, and then she runs out of fuel. And obviously, as we know from Madagascar 2: Escape from Africa, if a plane runs out of fuel, it stops dead in midair and falls straight down.
That's the propeller stopping.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, even jet planes, it makes the propeller noise, just because that's how pilots recognize it.
Yeah.
And so it starts falling straight down and actually falls to the bottom of the ocean
in one go. Just straight down.
Yeah, like the Flintstones, right?
And a little sploosh after it's gone. Yeah.
And actually, this is conspiracy theory 2.1.1.
2.1.
Amelia Earhart finds Atlantis.
Yeah.
In there.
Yeah, that's it. She just does, and then she lives there as girl boss of Atlantis.
She's still alive now, because Atlantis, you can't die in it.
theory 2.1b is that Atlantis isn't in the South China Sea, and Amelia Earhart instead goes through the crust of the Earth and to the core, and sets up base down there, still alive today, again, at the center of the Earth, with her plane and giant knife and a bunch of Malaysian people. Yeah.
And there was like some American guy on there. He took a selfie with his grandmother, and that was the main image from that flight.
Yeah.
And that grandmother was actually Amelia Earhart, because Amelia Earhart wasn't in the cockpit half the flight because she's such a good pilot.
Yeah. There's also,
she doesn't even need to be in the cockpit.
There's a third section for this theory, and that's that the plane went into the water and just everyone fucking died. But no one really likes that one because it's kind of sad and it's like,
Yeah, and also it's kind of anticlimactic to the story.
Like shit's gotta happen,
like this,
right?
like this woman is like a world-class pilot, let alone like the first woman in history. So it's like you have to kind of have like a big ending to it, or else it just doesn't feel satisfying. And like, in real life sometimes there are, but
oh sorry, you cut
this is our real life. This is the facts.
Yeah.
This is the facts based on new information that may or may not have been created in the past 5 minutes.
No, this is real stuff, guys.
It's
you
absolutely
can take
true.
this into your next time you have like a history lesson or something. Take that in.
Even if it's unrelated.
Even if it's unrelated. Even if you're doing the Normans or something.
Be a lesson on like the Crusades. You still just got to say this shit because it needs to be out there.
What do you think about the theory that she started flying across the Pacific and then crashed and died?
Kind of boring. I won't lie.
I agree with you.
I don't think Amelia would do that.
Yeah, quite unlikely, I think. Especially for, someone like Amelia.
Yeah, because obviously we know Amelia personally. Because we were on Flight 270, actually.
Yeah, I was on Flight 360.
Well, I think I may have also been on Flight 3, but we were technically at the same place where Amelia was. We were also in Malaysia at the time.
Yes, yeah.
We were also actually Japanese soldiers during World War II.
Well, I was actually from Manchuria, but I was still loyal to the cause.
Yeah, we were like rising sun fanatics. We loved that specky guy who they put pictures up of.
Yeah.
Right.
And Hitler.
We didn't like that guy as much, for the record. I know it's 2021, and that's kind of a harsh take, but we didn't really like that guy.
Amelia Earhart loved Hitler.
Oh, Amelia. Oh, fucking. I mean, she was more of a Mussolini gal, but I think you're thinking of
for Hitler, but
I think at the time it was more her
she
male
was in
counterpart.
a bit of a Hitler phase.
Everyone goes through it. Right? I think we can all. It's called growing up. But anyway, you ever, speaking of women in aviation, I think it's important to I think it's important to mention that like Yugoslavian flight attendant who like was on this plane, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm not sure if I'm confused if this is the actual story or it's just the movie Airport, but
no.
I think there was like this like scared businessman, and the businessman had a bomb, and he tries to hijack the plane to get money because his business failed, and then the plane like blows up, but this woman, right? She gets like pressed against some debris.
Yeah.
And she's like hurtling down to the earth. But unlike our girl Amelia, who didn't mean to hit a tree, this flight attendant did mean to hit a tree because it actually cushioned her fall. And I think it's a good note to end this podcast on.
Yeah.
Because it shows that women can land planes. Because I feel like the underlying sexism in all the theories about Amelia Earhart's death is that women can't land planes, and that's the implication.
That's not true.
Whenever the theory ends
women
with
can land
her
planes.
dying,
women
can totally land.
They do all the time.
Do you know what else they can do? Do you know what else they can do?
Your mom. Sorry, no. What can they do? What else can they do?
Listen, you didn't have to. That was a low blow.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Listen, do you know what else they can do?
All right, and that's the end of the podcast, guys. Thanks you for
They can change a tire.
They can change a
That's what
tire.
I was gonna say.
Well, if you
They
can change, if you can fix a
the
car,
tire.
you can fix a massive navy boat.
Amelia Earhart fixed a plane.
Yes.
And that's why you should join the Royal
That's
Marines.
why you should join the Royal Navy. Thanks, guys.
That
Shout
is
out to the Royal Navy. That's what we're going to be ending the podcast
Shout out to
here.
the Royal Navy for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah. Shout out to the Royal Navy.
We
Shout
actually
out to,
got a sponsorship for the first episode.
Yeah. We're going to talk about them briefly now. They're the Navy, and you should join them. That's it. That's all they get. They didn't pay us that much.
Yeah, they
shout out
don't
to
hate
Amelia
the gas
Earhart.
anymore. They really wanted to get that across.
Yeah, that's important as well. Shout out to Amelia Earhart. Shout out to my
Shout out
co-host.
to the
sorry.
Yes, and to Micah. Shout out to the Yugoslavian flight attendant
Of course, yeah.
who didn't die
Yeah,
and
yeah.
proved that women can land
Good
after
job
large
for not
falls from-
dying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I would actually like to beat my co-host to the punch and say shout out to my boy Archie
Oh,
for being on
shout
this
out to my boy
podcast with me.
Yuri. Oh, love
Yeah,
him,
man.
love him to bits.
Yeah, dude. Me and Archie, we're like iron chains that hold a Royal Navy ship in port. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. Really. Yeah. Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself,
Yeah.
and I won't. But yeah, no, seriously.
That's
Thanks. If you made it to the end, thank you for putting up with us. And we'll see you in the next episode of our podcast. Bye.
in the next episode of our podcast. Bye.
We're gonna get so fucked for this.